Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal. So far, we've all been patiently waiting for the next World of Warcraft Dragonflight update of the 10.2.5, which has been in development for a few weeks now over on the PTR. But it seems that the next update that follows 10.2.5, a 10.2.6, has recently been sniffed out, which means the 10.2.5 could potentially be arriving sooner than most expected. This week also brings with it even more updates for the 10.2.5 PTR as well, like additional updates to the new Night Elf starting zone of Belemeth, as well as additional improvements for dynamic flying, which is going to be available everywhere outside of the Dragon Isles with 10.2.5, a couple of more class changes, nothing major but mostly class quality of life adjustments that are going to be very much appreciated, as well as even more testing that is available for the new Azeroth Archives public event. And in today's video, I wanted to go over all of the newest PTR changes that have happened as of recently. But right before we dive into this update video, most of you guys watching these are still not subscribed. However, the more of you remind, the more of you do. So let's keep it going. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell if you're watching these videos anyway. Especially if you want to get more regular content regarding Dragonflight patch 10.2.5 or any of the future updates going forward. First of all, let's start off with some big news like the patch 10.2.5, which has actually been recently discovered. While this update is nowhere near yet available for testing over in the PTR realms, we do know of its existence, which means that we have even more updates coming past 10.2.5, which isn't even out yet. But since we were able to sniff out 10.2.6, it could mean that 10.2.5 is right over the horizon and should be releasing sometime soon, especially since it contains some of the holiday updates for the month of February. As for what is contained within 10.2.6, for now it's really up in the air, but I'm expecting that there's going to be more story updates, maybe stuff that wraps up Dragonflight, or rather some quest lines that set up the next expansion. Potentially even more open world updates similar to what we're getting in 10.2.5. Or, and this is what I would personally love to see, even more class revamps and talent revamps like we've seen with a few updates. Though it is possible that they're going to slow down on a lot of the major class changes until the next expansion of The War Within, which actually The War Within does also have an internal build as of today. While not public, it's still super exciting to see that it's already being worked on. Even though I would love to see classes such as monks, shamans, and hunters see some sort of a talent adjustment within Dragonflight to help us better set up some of those playstyles for The War Within. But even then, even if we don't see any major changes for 10.2.6, we will be seeing The War Within Alpha or Beta sometime within spring of 2024, which means we might actually be seeing some of those major class reworks sooner than expected. Now, I want to roll back to the patch 10.2.5 because even that PTR update has seen additional changes, like a brand new zone of the Night Elves called Belemeth, which is the new world tree of the Night Elves that we were nourishing during the patch 10.2 within the Emerald Dream. With this newest update, Belemeth is a lot more populated and has a lot more NPCs within various zones, as well as some new structures constructed within the area. A lot of the NPCs surrounding Belemeth are going to be some of the more iconic or even familiar names that can be found within the old tree. And with a new official zone just for the Night Elves comes potentially a new leveling experience for Night Elf players in the future, which would mean new quest lines and a refreshed new player experience. Horde players, however, currently on PTR can also visit the new tree, since it is located within the Dragon Isles, which are accessible by both factions. However, every Horde player will also notice that we'll get a debuff that means that they're being watched by the opposing faction to make sure cross-faction conflict does not erupt on the newest tree. And if Night Elves are to gain a new intro experience within Belemeth over the original Teldrassil, which was lost during the conflict of Battle for Azeroth, I think seeing something like this would be awesome, especially for the refreshed new player experience that acknowledges the lore of World of Warcraft that we have witnessed thus far. Because right now the only up-to-date intro experience we have is Exile's Reach, which on its own, that intro does a pretty good job as a starting player experience, but it would be awesome to have a similar familiar starting and tutorial experience, but within faction or race-specific zones, so that new players can better establish their own character's background, their specific faction, and their character's roots and where they come from, compared to Exile's Reach, which is more uniform for the Alliance or the Horde. And if Night Elf players are to get a new intro, I could also see Horde Forsaken players also get a new intro as well, since that faction was also affected during the events of Battle for Azeroth. Let me know in the comments if this is something you would want to see for the future updates of Dragonflight. Besides this, we also have new flying updates for the 10.2.5. As part of the 10.2.5 update, dynamic flying is coming to all parts of Azeroth, not just within the Dragon Isles, which means that we'll be able to mount on our drakes within all the old zones from the Eastern Kingdoms, the Kalimdor, Outland, Northrend, Pandaria, and everywhere in between. And we will even retain a lot of the dragon riding abilities that we learned during our experience within the Dragon Isles. However, the dynamic flying system outside of the Dragon Isles will have our dynamic flying mounts, or dragon riding mounts, flying slightly slower than within the Isles. However, recently they pulled back on the slowdown that happens outside of the Isles, so you can travel around the old world zones just a little bit faster. This patch update also brings a couple more quality of life changes for a handful of classes. These are by no means like any of the other major changes that we've covered on this channel, just smaller adjustments to make certain aspects of gameplay for a handful of classes and playstyles just a little bit more convenient. Starting off, we have the Evoker with a Source of Magic buff, where they changed the duration of the buff from 30 minutes to 1 hour to make it so you don't have to reapply it nearly as frequently. For the class of Mage, their ability of Shifting Power will deal arcane damage instead of nature damage in the patch 10.2.5, as part of a thematic adjustment for the ability, since they recently reworked it from a Shadowlands Covenant ability into a class-defining spell instead. Then we have the class of the Monk, where we see a handful of talent adjustments, particularly to the spec of Mistweaver. The talent of Dance of Wind dodge chance will now stack until you eventually dodge an enemy's attack. These guaranteed dodges will happen more frequently, which overall results in a nice defensive benefit. The talent of Ancient Teachings when proc will now increase the Mistweaver Monk's stamina, which is a great survivability buff, especially when you're putting yourself into the melee, which is a far more dangerous position than healing your allies from the range. The ability of Thunder Focus T will now function with the ability of Expel Harm, which will allow it to transfer 25% more of its overall healing into damage to nearby foes, while also creating a Chi Cocoon on yourself, which provides you with much better self-defensive, self-survivability tool in the process. The talent of Tea of Plenty will now function with Expel Harm and Envelop Mist instead of Essence Font and Renewing Mist. And Secret Infusion will now also function with Expel Harm as well, which will grant you additional versatility to further increase your overall self-survivability, which overall results in quite a solid set of changes coming to the class of Monk. Finally, we have one more quality of life adjustment for Fury Warriors within PvP, with their PvP talent of Slaughterhouse, which will now function from abilities like Odin's Fury as well as Onslaught, which is a massive buff for the Mortal Strike effect and the anti-healing benefits of Fury Warrior. This allows you to now faster ramp up your anti-healing debuff on a target, which allows you to output far more pressure within PvP. Finally, this most recent 10.2.5 build allows us to finally access the Azerothian Archives public event, sorta. It's mostly functional but not fully implemented. At the dig site, you'll be able to participate in a variety of group and solo activities, some of which will be non-combat as well as combat related. And towards the end of the encounter, you'll fight against a dragon boss as a group. So far, what we know about this event is by participating in it, you'll be able to unlock a new currency, mounts, pets, and plenty of transmog, but right now we don't really have a vendor over on the PTR to test any of the new cosmetics. And for now, that's going to be everything we have for testing over on the PTR, and hopefully we'll be seeing the patch 10.2.6 at some point within the next few weeks. Until then, we'll have the current Season 3 as well as the Season of Discovery over on Classic to keep us busy. But I want to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments down below. What are some of the most exciting features that you would want to see coming out for the patch 10.2.6? Would you want to see any specific class changes going forward, or potentially any other content updates as well? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. As per usual, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, in the description of every single video and live stream, we have a link to our Discord community channel. Probably the best place to reach out to me directly in case you want to let me know what you thought about this video, or hang out with the rest of the community to discuss some of the upcoming changes. Join our Discord to become part of the community. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.